back to Banding with Doc Rock. I am Doc Rock. We are open and in the recovery room. And you know what? I could have this show end right now because with the music I just heard, wow, I like it. And it is Rough Trade Rock, and the creators of Rough Trade Rock are sitting right here in the recovery room. This is the legendary Fester. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's great to have you here. And of course, well, 2/3 of Fester, I think, right? Because I went to the Fester a trio.
Yeah, we're
who are we leaving the bus?
we each couldn't make it tonight. You know, his brother is in the hospital, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But we came straight from practice.
Did you? Okay.
So he was able to jam out on practice. I was sweating when we left. That's a whole other story.
All right.
So, but yeah, we each couldn't make it, and so we would like to say hi to Weege.
Okay. And for the fans that have never known anything about Fester before, you are?
I am Adam Hines. I play guitar, lead singer, and was the founder of the band.
Okay, great.
And I'm Art Cook. I'm the drummer, and I sing backups.
Okay.
And he does it well. He does it well.
And we just heard some great Fester tunes. What did we hear?
Wood.
Okay.
And Yesterday, which is off the new album.
Okay.
Which isn't officially out yet, but you know, we're going to have a CD release party in the spring.
Okay, good. Okay, keep us in mind for that one. So I'd sure like to be there. All right, now Fester. When did you guys meet and form? Because I think this is so great. Because so many bands, they've been around since a couple of years and switched some members and everything else. Give me a fast history of Fester.
Well, originally started in April of '99.
99.
And you know, here's the weird thing is, everybody is always like, well, you just don't know when to quit. You don't know when to quit. Well, you know, when it's not fun anymore, that's when I quit. There has been, some lineup changes over the years.
Sure.
And the first 6 years we had the original lineup, and then in 2006 is when Art joined the band, Weeks joined the band, and it's been the same lineup ever since.
Okay.
We were a competing band.
Well, yeah. So we used to do a lot of shows with his original band.
So you bought the competition.
Well, exactly. I was like, oh, if I can't have them, nobody's going to have them. So, but it just worked out really good. We did a lot of shows together, and then started joking like, we should join your band, or I should join your band. And and I win. So.
But I admire you about that, because the great thing about that is, great musicians are great musicians, and they can be in all kinds of different bands. And all too often we're pigeonholed because people are saying, well, I don't really play that type of rock. I play a different type, so I really couldn't relate to you guys. And I go, it may sound a little bit like the old Billy Joel song. It's still rock and roll to me.
Exactly.
It's music, And so the best bands are guys like you that cherry pick over the years, and there's sort of this, this morphing to get the right musicians in place. And no matter where they came from, what genres they're from, it's the band right now, and then that spark ignites.
Well, the hardest part, everybody assumes, it's doing the music. Well, the music's only part of it. The hardest part about being in a band, and Art can attest to this, is getting the right people.
Yeah.
That's why so many bands, have a lifespan of 1 to 2 years, and then they disappear like a popcorn fart. And because we've played with so many bands that just blew our socks off. And we're like, oh, they're going to be the next big thing. And then 6 months later, we're trying to get a hold of them. Oh, we broke up.
Yeah, their personalities, the conflicts, and all that. You just can't
stay
together. It's like a marriage.
Well,
yeah.
The greatest quote comes from a friend of mine who will remain nameless but well known. He is the CEO of an extremely large band. Okay. He is a applauded rock musician. He's actually very good. And members in and out and everything. And he turned to me one day and he said, Doc, he said, do you realize it is easier to run a multi-billion-dollar bank than it is to keep a goddamn rock and roll band together? Oh,
amen.
And all that drama, and it was a real reality check with that. When I look at the Fester logo, I'm a vintage car nut. I can't help but look at that font and go, wait a second, is that retro Dodge or Ford?
What, the abandoned font? The font?
The font, the word Fester, as I have seen it up there, it looks like, I'm thinking Dodge Brothers. I think it's great, because you don't see it anymore.
I always go for stuff that's just a little bit out of the box.
You're sure?
Because, everything's been done, so you have to take a new spin on things.
Yep.
And that's why we, as with all the album covers, and even with our sound, we've developed over the years. It's not the mainstream,
right?
Because so many bands sound like so many other bands that a lot of times when you hear them play, you're like, okay, who is this? Mm-hmm. If you're not watching them, you don't know who it is. Mm-hmm. So, having something unique that within the first 3 chords, you're like, oh, that's Fester, or it's just like Aerosmith or AC/DC. Within the first 3 chords, you know exactly who it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you have that formula, keep it. Don't change it.
Well, it permeates right down and then into your logo font and all that stuff. And I certainly do agree. But with 11 years of the changing of what's gone on since 1999, what inspiration to what external forces or internal mayhem has caused the changes in Fester?
Just time.
We're getting old.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. But
the aging process.
Yeah. A lot of the changes will come along. It's just a sign of the times, sort of thing. Every now and again, I always try to keep the formula what it is.
Yeah.
But you do have to evolve.
Do you go back and listen to something you did in 2002 and go, what the hell?
Oh yeah. Because every time a new album came out,
yeah,
he brings back these songs that Adam did years ago. Maybe they didn't make the album, or
mm-hmm.
they did. They made an album, and he said, let's bring it back and change it and put our spin to it.
Right. Weege is really good with that.
Yeah.
Because, he'll listen to us like, well, that was a really great song that was on the first album. Why don't we bring that back?
Sure.
And redo it. And, half those I don't even know how to play anymore,
But when you nail one that fans really like, you have an obligation not to change it.
Well, yeah,
sure,
which really there's only one.
No, there's one.
Well, there's a few.
Yeah.
But there's one song, and I have to say this one. It was a hidden track on our very first CD, and it's the only one that we haven't changed up. Now we when we do unplugged shows, we have done an unplugged version of it, but it's only a 26-second song.
Okay.
It was a hidden track, and it was a song that I wrote at work, just because at work everything's monotonous.
Sure.
And it's called Millimeter Peter. And and we only had it as a hidden track.
Uh-huh.
And then early on, people found the hidden track,
Uh-huh.
and then at shows, everybody's screaming for Millimeter Peter. And it got to the point where I was actually like, really, do I want to do this again?
Sure.
But seeing how the fans liked it, and the diehards love it,
fans.
so yeah, that's just one of those things.
You think about it. I mean, think about the most mundane example: the Rolling Stones. Now, the Rolling Stones, okay, they decide to go on tour at their ages,
Mm-hmm.
and what they're thinking backstage as they're limbering up in the dressing room. They've got to go out and they have to play freaking Jumpin' Jack Flash. It was released in the '60s, and it's what the fans want to hear, and they've played it for 40-some years ad nauseum. But it's what the fans want, What would you say in the Fester tunes? What's your favorite tune when you do your live show?
Wow.
What is it really?
What would be yours?
I got a couple. Jaded Me, Sweat. They're really powerful and driving apathy. I mean,
He's a drummer, of course.
I mean, that's my.
He's the core.
Yeah.
I actually agree with those. Because again, we have some hard rock, we have punk, we have light. One of my favorites was off of our last album, Finet Pompeii, September Lost. Love that song, and it's just really, really fun to play. But of course, the new album, I've got to push it.
Yep.
Wood is a really, really good one, and it's one of those that's like Green Acres. It sticks in your head. And today it was. Yeah, Green Acres. What's that? But it sticks in your head, and you cannot.
Yeah.
You can't get it out of your head, and it gets to the point where sometimes it drives me crazy. But I really, really like that song.
Do the fans live with Fester and your versatility? Do the fans, they have their fan favorites, of course, but do you see that the fans tend to resonate more toward these favorite harder tunes?
Probably, because I think if we like them and we're performing, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they people pick up on that, I think.
Yeah, and they see if we're having fun, because it's contagious.
Mhm.
You can't just get up on stage and just,
Right.
because, if they see, well, you're not having fun, well,
It's, I call it cyclical, because,
Yeah.
because it starts with you as an entertainer. You send out the projection to the audience. Audience says, "I get it, I like it," and they're sending it back to you, and it's it's like right the bicycle.
and it just
cyclical.
keeps, yeah. I mean,
And how fast
when
can
you see the
pedal?
crowd getting into it,
Just
roll
not
with
like
it,
it.
and if you see the crowd, just not favoring a song, it's like, all right, we'll
Work on
move
that.
Yeah,
You're obviously-
that's where we always watch the game tapes.
But you're obviously a live band. I mean, that's one thing that Fester's have been known for all these years. Obviously, I'm curious because of the influences, and as I listen to your music, no two songs truly are alike at all. I mean, they come from different. I hear retro trends in some of these things. I think the red hair, the girl with the red hair.
Bitch with the big red hair.
Thank you. Thank you. I have never met her, but I thank you. But I hear some retro stuff in that. And it's good rock. It's just good rock. And again, mentioning all the diverse styles that you're doing, but you mentioned a little bit of grunge and punk, because you are very wonderful, energetic guys. You're not grunge punk kind of guys. Are you thinking of kind of projecting the punk from the '70s, which may have been more of an influence to you than?
The early Fester shows, very, very punk. I mean,
How many times have you jumped off the stage?
well, I've jumped into the drum set many times, and there was one time where the hi-hat impaled me through the ribs.
I can see.
So, and that was when I was just like, okay, maybe I should stop doing that. And I broke, some equipment. I haven't jumped off, I've fallen off the stage. But what musician has
Absolutely.
at one point. And I'm not necessarily sure if that was just due to exuberance or Jaeger. And I'm leaning towards the Jaeger because that's Fester's favorite drink.
Okay. Well, so I was thinking, bands that were like the Ramones, Iggy Pop. There were some of the Sex Pistols. There were some of the core bands that were, when they came out with real punk, were just in your face. And they were so influential, today. And I found some of those. Some of those traces, if you will, in some of your grinding music. The great thing about it, I love trios. Trios are great because you have 3 qualified guys in trios, and the music's not cluttered. It doesn't need 3 extra guitars and keyboards and all that. No. Every musician should stand on their own, and the audience attention is focused equally on the 3. I mean, there's legendary rock trios obviously out there, and there's this common success thread throughout all of them because they were the best at their respective instruments, and cooperatively had a really great full show without the overkill, and so I sense that very much in what you're doing. There's a term though that you came up with, rough trade rock. We throw it around a little bit tonight, and it just captures my attention. How would you define? Since you are the creator of rough trade rock, you are
Yes.
licensed to define it.
Well, the definition is Fester. Because again, being pigeonholed, when people are like, well, what genre are you? And it's, okay, we're grunge or over punk or, it's just, you don't want to get put into that box because we don't necessarily fit. It's putting a round peg in a square hole. And, so it was weird. A studio that we had dealt with back in the early 2000s threw that term out one time. It was like, well, this is very rough trade, and that's I picked up on that right away. I was just like, oh yeah. I was like, because that's us, because I'm not a virtuoso guitar player. I know my limitations. I do what I do well, but I know my limitations. There's no flaming leads, and I'm a three chord, just balls to the walls,
as long as it's done well.
full frontal, and that's just what we do.
Yeah, we're simple.
Yes, simple is better. You let the song breathe. If a song stands on its own, that's the mark of a good song. You don't have to clutter it up with production and layers of this and that. So
Right. So rough trade rock. What really attracted me about it is the fact that the rough. When you think about the earliest times in the '50s, when the first rock concerts happened, the term ruckus.
Oh yeah.
Ruckus came to light because the media would say, "Oh my God, we've got white kids going in there, black kids all mixing." In the pre-civil rights era, listening to this, this wild music with an African beat and hips are swinging. This was so sinful, but it drove these kids of all races into a ruckus, into a frenzy. But the term ruckus came around, and it was the appropriate term because the media was just trying to figure out what is causing this. And when I hear rough trade rock, obviously we know there's rough trade right now in the industry. Period. But the fact that you've matured, there's an edge. And you're saying, okay, we're going to be edgy. It's a rough trade, and we're going to be edgy, and we're going to just create the rock. That's all it is, nothing more. I try to read into it a bunch of times, as I typically do, and every time I'm wrong. It is just what it is, and nothing else. But it is really great. And I think the thing here for all these bands is just create your own genres. I mean, you've done something that thank God somebody's done, because again, it's not just Indian alternative and typical stuff. Okay. You are working on a definition and creating the music around it. I want to ask you about Toronto. Oh, but Canada. No, Toronto. But you had some really good experiences in Canada. Okay, and around Toronto and all. I hear great things about Toronto. Not enough Northern Ohio bands go to Toronto. Why is Toronto, in your opinion, so different?
Well, first off, the music scene's so much different, and
how?
Earlier you were talking about Cleveland being the rock rock capital, and by definition it is. But a lot of the local bands don't get the respect that they deserve, but that can be said for any major city. However, Toronto, when we went there, and we went there twice within 3 months, they treated us like Pearl Jam. It was amazing the way they treated us, and
why would that be? You think?
I don't know if they just assume well, they're coming from America.
Canadians are friendly.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
More polite.
Yeah, they don't have just good ham and beer. So, but they promoted us. They had us on the local radio stations. Promoting us. And the first time we went, we played at Lee's Palace, and it was just unlike anything that was done here. And that's when I was just like, oh my God, I want to move to Toronto. But
everybody that I've ever heard who's gone there has loved it. For those reasons.
Toronto's it's amazing. Let alone it's a clean city. Now the first time we went up there, the garbage was on strike. So the first time everybody's telling me how clean it was, but there was garbage stacked up like higher than you could. If you were on the sidewalk, you could not see the street.
Okay.
And I'm just like, wow. But hey, the music scene rocks.
I wish more bands would do what you did. Venture into those markets. It most basically said, a prophet is but a fool in his own hometown.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of bands just stick around Cleveland, and they're tied to jobs and family and can't get away. And all that. Well, not too bad. Okay, your career's going to be here, and that's it, and you accept that. But there's a world out there. How many bands I know here that have gone to Europe and who've been on the show have gone there and come back, and these have stars and rest going, oh my gosh, it's a different world. And it's worth the effort to go there. We sold so much more merch.
The nice thing about Toronto is it's a weekend trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go up there, you can play a Friday, Saturday, and be home for work on Monday.
Sure.
Sure. And another venue up there was really cool that we played. It was called the Bovine Sex Club. Look it up. The place is incredible.
Don't drink milk.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You've had 5 albums over 8 years. That's a real push. That's a lot of product. Has it been worth it? In hindsight, you look at it, could you have done maybe 3 albums, maybe not done 2, or has each album been a growth step? That's a good lot.
Yeah, with me, I don't know when to say when. That's my problem with drinks and with albums and with whatever. Because doing these albums all the while gigging as much as we have.
Yeah.
And the very first album, that one I was outvoted. I didn't want to put all our eggs in one basket because at that time we only had 20 songs. And we put all 20 on it. Well, I was just like, let's just do 10, keep the other 10 in the pocket for the next album.
Okay.
The writing came so fast that, there's 60 plus songs now and, 70 songs. And we're already writing for album 6, and album 5 isn't officially out yet, you know.
How about a box set?
There you go.
Okay,
You can do it.
a box set would be great. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible amount. A lot of people have writer's block and stuff. You obviously.
Well, it happens.
I couldn't live with you.
Right.
I couldn't do that. But bottom line, you know, you're cranking a whole lot of product, and it's, you know, it's amazing. As you've aged.
Uh-oh.
Okay, have you, you know, how have you changed? I mean, you know, is it, and how has that aging maybe, you know, worked to the band's longevity? You find yourself more tolerant of each other?
Tolerant, mature,
Patient?
looking back, you know, at mistakes, not making the same mistakes, or at least not making them 3 times in a row. I'm Art can attest to that. I mean, so sometimes they have to rein me in because, you know, I get ahead of myself a lot.
Yeah.
But then you got to have that one, at least one person in the band that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Art kind of, you know, pulls the reins back and, you know, keeps me grounded. Weege definitely keeps me grounded, but Weege also opens up new ideas because, you know, he's just like, we should bring this song back, or we should do a variation of this song, sort of thing. So, you know, and then sometimes Weege is just like, you know, don't do that, you know. So, but again, you know, having the right people and in the band and just.
Probably when you clear that 5-year or 6-year point, you say, okay, we're here, it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean,
marriage or something, you know, it's good.
Exactly. I mean, again,
But play it out too. I mean, Adam, if it was his way, he still would play out 2 or 3 times every week. He doesn't care where it's at, how far it is, what we have to do. And I think as I still try to
What are you,
pull back.
homeless?
No, but let's do. I look at it, and we just kind of follows along suit, and Adam does.
Yeah.
Let's do less shows, but make them a bigger event, or pick and choose
Smart
where we
thinking.
want. Like Adam said in Toronto, I mean, we would rather be treated better and paid nothing than you know.
yeah, because early on you have to whore yourself out.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And in the early days, you know, we were doing 150 gigs a year, and you know, and that gets tiring. And you know, of course, now the older we get, it gets tiring.
Sure.
This year has been a busy year, but we're not nearly close to that. I think we're probably at the 60 range right now.
Okay.
But slowing down a little bit and going quality versus quantity. It is a good idea. But I find it hard to say no. Because clubs will call, bands will call, and they're like, you know, can you, and I'm just like, oh, sure, no problem. And then I got to call these guys.
Yeah.
And then, so, but,
Checks and balances.
oh yeah, yeah, they're the balances of my checks, and I write a lot of rubber checks sometimes. So.
Oh no, won't go there. Well, you know, you're obviously not going to call it quits, you know, and you're having fun, you know, and you're positive nature.
Most important.
At the outset of the
Have
show,
fun.
I talked about positive attitudes and positive nature, and you know how it just resonates, and you know, and I think that's such a key component, you know, of you, and I think it's really great. By the way, congrats on 2 Grammy considerations. I mean,
That was very big.
That's
That was very
tremendous.
big.
I mean, when I came across it, I went, well, I should do the research, and I said, sure enough, they did. And
Seeing Fester and Grammy in the same sentence, I was just like, huh? You know, so when I got the email from Sonic Wave with that, I was just like, what?
there must be another
That's a
festival.
statement.
I was like, you know, and then, you know, now I'm like, well, that's our album, and
Yeah.
that's our song, and oh my God, you know, so that was very cool.
I think that's absolutely great. And again, you've got this new CD that's going to be released in the spring. Is there? I know you're kind of low key right now. You're doing a lot of writing. Any gigs coming up where anybody can see you?
Well, you know, as luck would have it. Friday night,
Friday night,
the 29th, we're going to be at the Euro Gyro in Kent.
Okay.
And Kent's our old stomping grounds,
Yeah.
and we're you know, Halloween weekend, well, you know what it's like in Kent. We're going to be there with some friends of ours, Flip Caddy, Soul Levy, and the Smoldering Butt Bitches.
So, okay. I think the wizard just walked out. Come back, wizard. What do you do? Okay.
Had to, because when I saw that name, I was just like, okay, they're punk. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's we're going to be doing that show, and then we're going to be taking some time off for the writing and whatnot. We might have a show in early December at Musica in Akron. So
Great venue. Yeah. That's great. Well, you guys have so much going on with your energy and everything, and you're so impressive, and you're such an inspiration. Thank you for being in the recovery room.
Thanks for having us.
I really appreciate having you guys here. It's You know, and I think, you know, you as viewers and audience are really now realize the quality that's behind Fester, why they have done so much over so many years, kept it together, and they are infectious. So I wish you the best of luck, really.
Thank you very much.
And I'll be out there at some of those gigs. You'll see me in the mosh pit. I'll be the guy where they're using a forklift.
I resemble that.
Oh, jeez. Hey, I'd also like to say thanks, of course, to the Band-Aid production team for this show tonight. We could not do it without you. I appreciate the wizard. He's still here after the butt, well, whatever. And, of course, Casey Slammer, wherever you are, and the Flying Me, who keeps us going out there. Thank you for my production team, but mostly thank you for logging onto this show. It's super important, and we really appreciate your being here. Hey, next week, November 2nd, of course, is election night, and you're going to experience a talented and melodic hard rock band in the recovery room. And I know that you're wondering if such a combination can exist. Melodic, talented, hard rock band? Well, I've got proof because Karina will be here in the recovery room for next week, so it's going to be great. Now, I also want to tell you, for next week, because it is election night coverage, and it's a very important election for Northern Ohio, we're going to have a little bit of a shorter show next week because we want to be there for the results and the celebrations and the heartbreaks and everything else that goes with that. So, show starts at 9:05 next week, but we may not be going as late next week because we want to catch the results. Please, I can't petition you enough, get out there and vote. Exercise your right, and you haven't got the right to gripe if you don't vote. So, we want you to vote for next week on Tuesday, November 2nd. You know, gotta say, this is our city, and it will only be as good as we make it. If you had the energy of these guys, everything would be possible. So be positive and do something positive for a change. We have everything to gain, and it will certainly better our scene, and it will rock your world. We'll see you at the top.
See ya.